Sure. Oh, there's no audio. I think everyone should be good at this point. Oh, just a second. I'm just gonna check something with the audio. Seems that there's something with the audio here. Just a second. I think we're all good. Just doing like a spot check here. See if everybody can hear me now. Oh, looks like it's working. Okay. False alarm. I just got a new mic. That's why it's kind of new equipment getting here. So thanks for joining me here. So it's October 11, 2024 at 7:30 p.m. Mountain Time, Alberta time. So thanks for tuning in. So I'm Max, I'm your host here. And today I'm going to talk about a subject that's been, I would say, discussed for a couple of people. It's about VPNs in particular. It seems to be that people asking what's the best VPN solution? What can you do to cover all tracks when it comes to privacy and that sort of thing? To which I said that would depend on what you do. So what I'm trying to talk about today is specifically about the VPN market, what it is, how VPNs work in general. There's a history around it as well too, how VPNs work, that sort of thing. What type of VPN connections we're using, type of technology, and really actually give you a good understanding how a VPN is kind of like a catch-22 when it comes to privacy. People seem to think that it's like the absolute best thing to get when it comes to preserve their security and privacy online. But when you look at more in a more deeper level, it's kind of weird because it's just like a sales tactics. When you look at on behind the scenes, you'll see how crazy and how deceptive things can be, and sure, and other things to and other ways to kind of show yourself and protect yourself. So once you know what's happening behind the scenes, then you can at least think twice or get better solutions to what is going on here. So I made a little slide about this situation, about what the VPN really is. And I'm just going to show you kind of what's going on here. So if you guys are on YouTube or Twitter, I think during the last stream, the first stream, I was unable to get the comments up and working. It's a limitation on YouTube. I think it's pretty much working at this point now. I just want to see something really quick here. Just a second here. I'm just going to double check something. I'm just checking about the demo that I'm about to do later on the day, because I have a demo here I'm going to be doing. So I just want to see if my demo is up and running, if I have the network resources allocated, the IP address. Okay, sounds good. So I'm going to show a little demo about what it's a VPN and how easy it is for providers to pull information about it. So I made a little slide about the whole subject. So I'm going to show you what it is right now, so you can understand. And this is from someone who's working in the IT industry. So I mean, it's not a fake thing at all. So the thing here. So today's talk, VPN security and applications using VPNs. That's today's talk for today. If you got any questions, just keep it on the comments on the chat. I'll be answering those questions, and I will get them as well as to. All right. So what is a VPN? So table of contents, what's a VPN, network topologies, how VPNs are marketed now, attack vectors, that's the cool part, demo, the other cool part as well, solutions and Q&A as well too. So this is what we have in the program for tonight, and a couple of show of other things as well too. So basically, what's a VPN? So VPN stands for virtual private networks. It was something that was being developed in the late 90s. It was primarily used for There was primarily used by government agencies, not government agencies, but institutions like universities, uh, government institutions like hospitals, that sort of thing. What they were doing back in the days is that they were purchasing network capacity normally from telephone companies like Telus, Bell, whatever, and those companies will establish a point-to-point communication between one building to another. Now it's so easy to connect two buildings. We can just right now we have the technology to connect two buildings together now. But back in the day, the only way you can possibly do that is by phoning your phone company asking, "Hey, I want some network capacity from two buildings." They will build the circuit. It costs like $2,000 a month. At the price of that place in 1990, it must be like $10,000 right now. Now it's like 200,000. Just give an example, and they will make a physical connection between your equipment and they're between one building to another. So that's what we're doing back then. It was very expensive, very doesn't scale very well because you have an office in Saskatoon or in an office in Edmonton. There are two different phone companies. In Edmonton is Edmonton Telephones, now Telus, and Saskatoon as Sastel. What's been implemented after that's called VPN, and that relies on the internet access. Instead of using a dedicated phone circuit, they're using the public internet as a result. And because it's on the public internet, what they were doing is to put some encryption and authentication algorithms on top of that. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about what it is. So that's what we're doing back then. They were using physical circuits from telephone companies. Now they're using VPNs and the public internet as a result, which is way, 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 way cheaper than the old way of doing things. In addition to using the public internet, you have to make sure that your traffic doesn't get scanned or utilized against your will. That's why VPNs now they have using encryption and authentication. Encryption means that whatever you're going to transmit on your cable is going to be encrypted. That is the encryption part. Authentication is another protocol that's being added. That is to make sure and authentication really actually helps that and makes sure that your traffic doesn't get it's to make sure that you make sure that it's to make sure that to know that you're actually talking to the right person. At the very end, there are 2 points together. They just want to make sure that you're talking to the right equipment, so to speak. So that's called authentication. Over time, we added new protocols, new algorithms, but it is basically the same thing. So, and we have multiple vendors as well. IPsec that's been used largely these days. OpenVPN, it's another vendor that's being used primarily in what we're going to talk about today, which is the browsing style VPN connection. That is the kind of services that will be sold by the guys at NordVPN, ExpressVPN, whatever VPN company you might probably find in the market. They're primarily using VPN because how flexible it is to set up on the server side of things. And WireGuard, that's another beast. We're not going to talk about this thing in particular because I haven't touched it yet. For all sacred purposes, we're going to talk today specifically about OpenVPN and IPsec. I'm not going to go into detail. I'm just going to show on the line, just on the back end, how it works, how traffic is being routed, and what it comes down to at the very end. Because what happens is that the VPN providers like ExpressVPN, all those companies What they're doing is selling this idea that by using their service, you're going to be secure, which is on paper correct and accurate, but in practice it is not. And I'll talk about what it is and how this thing may change and may affect your usage, and how you have to be aware of this sort of way of using your VPN service and not use it as a substitute internet service. So basically, there are two models when it comes to VPN infrastructure. One is the site-to-site VPN connection, and one is the remote road warrior VPN connection. The difference between the two is that this particular setup is more like what you'll find in the 90s or in two businesses together. It happens very often that we have to be able to connect two business together or two buildings together. So we use what you call a side-to-side VPN, which is essentially two networks connected on the internet. We throw a VPN connection and we connect two networks together. So if you look at the screenshot here, you're gonna see, like, let's suppose that you're here in Edmonton. So this is a TELUS line, and your computer is here, and you want to talk to this computer here, and this guy is in Shaw. So the way that would normally work is that your computer here with this computer here wants to talk to this machine here. So normally, what the routers will do is that they will establish like this, this um, yellow cable here. That is the VPN connection. So the computer, they don't know about this part. The computers on the bottom side, they don't know this stuff. They only know is this part, and this computer knows this part. So what the routers will do is they will establish a connection here, and this computer will talk to this computer here, as I outlined here, and this specific IP addresses. So this is the kind of stuff this is the kind of infrastructure that most when I get asked, Max, I need to connect two buildings together, or I have purchased this business, we acquired this business, yada yada yada. We need to connect this business to our business because we share printers, we share servers, we share multiple of resources. This is what's going to happen at the very end. So this is like the typical scenario where you're going to use the public internet to extend your network, if you will. That's what we're doing in universities back in the days. That has been done right now. It's very common to see something like this. Okay, and at least at the business perspective, that's what you do here, at least in my office. So I want to jump to another type of VPN scenario, and this is something that you will find, and that's going to be provided by folks at OpenVPN, ExpressVPN, Privacy VPN, and all those vendors. It's something like this. So basically, what happens is let's say you're here, you're at home, you want to search the internet, yada yada yada. You want to go on the internet with this thing. So basically, what's going to happen if you go to a website, let's say freedomcandle.net, like this. I'm going to show this slide. I don't know, can you see this? It's a little smaller. Just a sec here. Just gonna. That's a little better. Okay. So let's suppose that you want to connect. You're here. So this is your home. This is your iPad, your tablet, whatever. You want to go to this site here. To let's say that freedomcandle.net is stored here. So the normal we do without the VPN involved is that you're going to contact the VPN server directly. So what's going to happen is that my server will effectively register the IP address that's being used here, which is your IP at TELUS. Okay, that's going to be provided by TELUS in the UK, any sort. VPN companies rely on the fact that this information. So when you go on the internet, when you visit a website, the web server will not see your IP address at TELUS. They will see something else. So this is how VPN services get along and get involved. So what you're going to do is that you're going to connect to a VPN provider, let's say ExpressVPN, for instance. I'm not doing any kind of publicity or anything. I'm just giving for an example. So you're connecting your server here. So what will happen is that on the backend, you're going to connect to this server here, to this VPN server provider here. What you see on the orange color here, that is essentially the connection between your computer and your router here. Okay. Um, and what's going to happen is that essentially you're going to connect to this router here. This is your computer. Your router will essentially connect to the VPN server here. And what the web server will see at the end is not your IP from TELUS. It will be this IP here, 67, 68, 184, 220. I think that's spelled on top of my head. But anyways, doesn't matter that much. So basically what's going to happen is that the user, the web server, will see this IP address here, 67, 68, 184, 220. So what's happens on the back end? And this is what I'm going to talk about specifically about information concealment, is that when you get to the point when you actually use a third party like ExpressVPN or whatever, they can actually see the request. They can actually see this leg here. They can actually see the connection between this 675 159 toward heading towards that IP address. They can actually see that connection. And this is what, in part, we're going to demonstrate here. So basically how VPNs are marketed right now, this is what I'm trying to tell, is that the concept of VPN originated from a point-to-point communication between two buildings, let's say that way. But now the VPN, when people ask me what's a VPN, I will actually go with the actual definition of VPN. But the average Joe will actually think that the VPN is just something like ExpressVPN or private VPN, whatever provider you might think of. That's the misconception that might arise from that, because they basically flooded the market with their VPN. Anybody can start a VPN server and push routes and everything. All you need is a bunch of servers, bunch of internet connections, and a good internet connection. And I think anybody can get a 1 gig fiber internet connection these days. So it's very easy to do. And to deploy. It relies on the fact that the service provider, when you connect to the VPN server, what's going to happen on the back end is that the router will basically, the VPN router on their side is going to override the internet connection that you have with your ISP, like from TELUS, Shaw, Bell. And if you want to get out to the outside, this is the slide here. If you look on my previous slide, basically on the client side, the VPN connection. So when his computer wants to go to the regular internet, it will just use the VPN here. That's how this thing actually works. And also keep in mind that that VPN is not the only solution. If you want to conceal your identity, VPNs on their own are not the only solution. There are other technologies as well, particularly Tor. When I talk about, I think I'm going to dedicate an entire video about Tor specifically. And as I mentioned before, VPNs can encrypt and authenticate the message all the way through your computer as well too. So the question is, if you're using something like a VPN or something, how a VPN that is supposed to be encrypted could potentially be used against you. So a couple of things as well is that, first of all, so basically VPN can encrypt and authenticate the message. Okay, that is a fact that works very well. The problem is that people seem to rely too much on VPN users seem to rely too much on the fact that the VPN providers will cover their tracks in case something goes wrong. I'll give an example. In Germany, about last year, there was a. I think last year there was a, and you can hear this thing anywhere, right? Like some guy who was trying to do XYZ things, and he wants to cover his tracks. He hires on a VPN, but normally he's going to do all the nefarious things he wants to do on a regular internet connection, but instead it's going to use the VPN instead. So the problem is that you're sending your same malicious traffic over VPN instead of using your normal internet connection. Okay. So yes, VPN will effectively encrypt the packet. What we call in technology, the packet is just like the regular traffic on the internet. It's called a packet. So they will so a VPN provider will effectively encrypt and authenticate your packet from your computer to the VPN server. What's inside the packet, they won't touch it. And that is your Facebook notifications, your YouTube messages, your XYZ things, your Facebook Messenger, your Twitter, they all go in there. So that's why you have to see your VPN provider as a VPN, as an internet connection rather than a VPN. And as we can see, information from a VPN can be extracted for nefarious purposes, as we're going to demonstrate here. Another thing that VPN servers can do, and this is something that VPN providers will absolutely tell, hey, we never log IP information for our customers. We're safe from the government. We don't ever remember people's passwords and stuff. And I will demonstrate that is completely false. Well, not completely false, but can be extracted in a very easy manner. So the problem is that when when you use your cell phone and you connect to a VPN server, all the information that has to do with the original IP address that's been the original connection from your computer down to their VPN server is locked. It's registered somewhere. Normally VPN providers, they use that for troubleshooting purposes. If let's say that a customer is reporting that there's a problem with their internet connection or VPN connection, they can sort of pull back and go back and see what's going on, and they can effectively determine what the problem is. So that's what they call in the jargon, what they call in the technical lingo, called that's what they call a metadata. Metadata includes the original IP address that's being used. That might be your Telus modem, your Shaw modem, your Bell modem at your house. They can say when, at what time, what date, and how many people connected to their VPN server. It's all available, ready to log in, ready to be pulled out. It's very easy to extract, and quite frankly, very easy to get. So it's not because you're using a VPN connection that you're automatically safe for those attacks. The only thing it takes is somebody who has only takes is somebody who is not very, I wouldn't say. It only takes just take a guy. It takes a guy who is not very mentally ill to knock on the servers and see what's going on in their cables, to pull that information out and resell that information to a competitor or to any government agency who is going to potentially pay them more that the VPN company is willing to pay for as a salary. So in other words, what's more important is not the data itself, not what you cram on your VPN tunnel. It's the packet around it, what they call the metadata. It's almost like when you get a package from UPS, like an Amazon order. Let's say, let's put it that way. The packet is what's inside the box. Okay, it's inside the box. What's outside the box is effectively your address, where it came, and where it's going. Like, okay, this is going from the Nisq warehouse and is going to, I don't know, Lacombe. Let's put it that way. So basically, you don't know what's inside. If you look at the package from the outside, you know what's in there. The only thing you know from the package is where it came from and where it's going, and probably phone number in between. So at this point, it's very common that if you look at the VPN perspective, if you run a VPN company or VPN route access service, you're going to see that information, the label information as to where it came from, where it's going. You're going to see all of that because it's you're not going to see the packet inside. You're going to see around the packet, which is important. And also that has the potential tie your that has also the potential of tying your credit card information because you pay with a credit card most of the time, or Bitcoin if you want, if you're serious about it. But most of the time, you will pay with a credit card like MasterCard, Visa, Amex, whatever. And they're going to tie your username to your account at their VPN provider, which is then tied to your credit card information. So can actually pull that information because now if that thing is connected to a credit card account, they can extract some information from the credit card, like the name. And this is something that a government agency like CSIS or NSA will be able to get very easy. It only takes a summon, call FBI's uh, RCMP, whatever, and they will be able to get information very effectively. So, and also one thing in particular is that VPN providers, because they're effectively providing internet service through a existing service that is paid by you, like Shaw, Bell, whatever, they can actually modify the what's in there in the packet itself. Obviously, we can't know what's in there in the packet, but nothing prevents from a technological standpoint to actually get into the packet itself and modify as such. It happens a lot with proxy servers when we get into the packet itself and trying to they use that for optimization purposes only, but nothing prevents them from getting that information to you very effectively. And also as well, and also one thing in particular is that if you're using that's what I was saying about you have to make when you're using a VPN, you have to make sure that that's coming out of the VPN is going to be what you're going to get if you're going to see the so if you're willing to if you're effectively if you're hiding your identity and if you're using a VPN to go to a website you're not supposed to do on your regular connection, just keep in mind that uh, nothing prevents a regular agency like CSIS to knock at their doors and say, hey, we think that one of your users is going to a website. I just need the information. Because if you don't comply, you're going to get sued or going to get financially destroyed by government agencies. So this is one of the things I can also point out is that if you have a server, like a VPN server, and many providers they do, and this is something that's been done basically by default, or perhaps it's done very effectively by VPN providers, and this is one of their marketing tactics, is that they're going to say and going to sell the the ability to go on a website in another country. Why? Because their VPN server is physically located in France, Canada, Brazil, Spain, whatever. So let's say you're in Canada, you want to connect to a VPN server in, let's say, in France. Yeah, what people will see on the other end, like if I run a website, if you go through freedomcalendar.net, if you go on the other side, what I'm going to see on my end, it's an IP from France. But because you run an infrastructure in France, you're then you have to abide to certain rules in France, like telecommunication rules, that sort of thing. So basically, nothing prevents the French authorities to get a call from DHS from the United States and knock at the people's doors in France and effectively get a summon or something that effect. That happened, I think, during the that is something like that happened in Sweden during during the raid of PRQ, per creator SE, which is essentially the web hosting company that hosted Pirate Bay in the late 2010s. So basically, the Pirate Bay, which is just still a very popular torrent website. So what they ended up doing is that prior to that, one of the founders was hosting a couple websites, and through his and what ended up happening is that one of the co-founders of the website was working for British Telecom, and that was his employer. But the Department of Homeland Security from the United States, they found British Telecom, and through British Telecom, they were able to basically have him fired. So don't think that running the VPN server is going to cover your tracks when it comes to a situation like this. Treat your VPN as a second internet connection that you might try and test. I personally use VPNs to test equipment, to do penetration testing, that sort of thing. I use VPNs a lot, extensively, but I don't use that as my main internet connection. Okay. And this is what I was saying. My next point is that if your server is located, let's say in Laos, then you're essentially going into Laos infrastructure, and the VPN provider that is using the server in Laos is the company is liable. The company which is running the server is culprit. It's essentially liable any losses, any damage that this particular web server is around. So that's why VPN servers have very strict rules. What gets in gets out. They will say you that you can go to anywhere in the world, but they have very strict website rules. You can't go to a. There are some sites that you can't go on a VPN because of that. Yeah, and also another attack as well that is happening a lot with VPNs, and this is something that was inherently saying by saying that whatever gets out of your VPN, it's on your responsibility, and that's clearly stated on any contract that you get sign up. If you sign up for a VPN service, there's going to be outlined the fact that you, as a customer, are responsible for what you send under their cables. So the company that runs VPN provider is not responsible, but you, as an individual, will be. And that implies also that you as an individual will have to make sure that what gets sent on the cable is accurate and sufficiently protected. One of the things that I've seen in the past, even with Freedom Calendar, is that I've seen people connecting to VPNs. It's something that happens all the time. I see people using VPNs, and I see some random people in networks XYZ in places I never heard. Yeah. I've seen, like, on Freedom Canada, I see all the regular people who are on TELUS, Shaw, Bell Canada, Rogers. Most of the time, every once in a while, I see those VPN Consumer Networks Inc. or Tor Proxy Inc. or some weird combination of both. And what I ended up doing is that we can basically, I see that the connection is not from Canada. It's from, let's say, Ukraine or France or United Kingdom. From an IP address perspective, I'm going to show you how to get that information in just a moment. But the geolocation feature, which is in that packet itself, which hasn't been changed, will tell me that the guy is in Erdry. I've seen it a lot. I've seen a guy who, I'm just giving fictional information here, but I've seen it a lot. People using VPNs, but using the geolocation perspective because their browser is providing that information, and not just to me, but to all the sites they gather, because it's a setting that's basically allowed by default these days. That's what we need to pay attention to what you say on the internet. I see that the IP address it's from Portugal, and the guy is in Red Deer. So basically, I can determine that the guy it's in Red Deer, even though he's using a VPN. even though from an IP perspective it's in Portugal. I'm going to show you how to get that information with some simple steps, how to know where the IP came from in a very approximative way. If you're interested in the subject, one of the things that you might think you might take a look at is this video from Sammy Kamkar. It's called basically how to get a girlfriend. Yeah, it's clickbait, I know, but this guy, what was doing is he was basically demonstrating the how a regular web browser is using Google's geolocation features to very precisely detect where somebody is. Like if you're using your GPS, like saying, hey, I want to get to this place, whatever. Actually, you're using Google's audit, Google's tracking algorithm, which essentially relies on all the network, all the wireless networks around you, around your router, around your phone. So basically, what he was able to do is that by getting all that information without contacting Google, he was able to accurately track 1 or 2 feet difference between like he was basically saying in the video, distance between my computer and a router 10 feet. I look at my computer, it was 10 feet away. So it's very precise, and this is the kind of information that that egresses your internet connection, regardless if you're using a VPN or your regular connection from Telus, whatever. I use Telus because we're not very sold Telus here. Sorry, no pun intended. Yeah. So anyway, so one thing you need to understand is that because of the geolocation information is sent inside the encrypted packet, that's supposed to will be encrypted, but once it's decoded by Google and de-encrypted by Google, then they will see all the information tied to your geolocation and that sort of thing. So when you think about it, it makes sense as to why some random dude, I see an IP address from France, but the guy is in, let's say, Drumheller or Banff. We don't see that every day because now web browsers are smarter now. But just keep in mind that your phone has the location feature pretty much by default. Like if you buy a phone, whatever, all the features are enabled, including the location features. This is not what you want. You would use a VPN. So now that it's all said and done, I'm going to do a quick demonstration of what's been done to get the information from a VPN client. So what I'm going to do now, and this is something that was saying to get ready on my network, is I'm going to show you basically how a VPN connection gets established. So for those of you who are not aware, I basically run my own VPN server for internal purposes only. So basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to connect. I'm going to open a SSH window. I'm just going to share the screen, but just the window here. Just give me 1 second here. I'm going to show what a VPN provider will see on their end. Share screen. I'm going to use. There we go. Okay, I'm going to just stretch down a little bit. Okay, so basically what you're seeing right now is what a VPN provider will see on their end if they connect, if they want to get information to what's going on in there, they're going to see this information. So what I'm going to do now is I'm on a VPN. I'm just going to disconnect from a VPN here just to see. I'm going to stop. Okay. Is it connected? Oh, it's connected. All right. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to effectively connect to a VPN, to my VPN server. But in order to do that, I'm just going to pull up the console information here. So you'll see that, yeah, I'm running OpenVPN on my servers. Just another technology that's been widely used. Nothing fancy there. But what I'm going to do is I'm gonna use my VPN client here on my phone, and just give an understanding, just give some context. I'm basically using my phone, and I'm not connected on the internet whatsoever. Well, I'm not on Wi-Fi. I'm just using the cell phone's internet connection. So what you're going to see and connecting here, and I'm gonna pause here. I'm gonna go into Control X. So basically, what you see here, can I able to scroll this? Ah, yeah. Okay. So what you see here is essentially, this is my telnet here. You're gonna see the network address, the subnet mask. This is the gateway. Nothing too fancy there. We're not going into detail, but this is effectively what you're going to see. This is the kind of stuff. Well, look, this is the metadata. You so can actually see when it got connected, when the SSH connection, when the tunnel was connected. So you will see was connected on October 12th to 2:11 a.m. Just keep in mind that this, don't keep too much on the date because we're using here a different time zone for the network infrastructure. But this is like using UTC time here. But anyway, so what happens here is that you're going to see, oh, this IP here, 142.59. So I'm going to show another web page here. I'm going to show you how we do. And yeah, you can actually see here the user being used. Oh, my username is eGolding. So basically what I have to do is, if I want to extract that information from an ISP or something to that effect, I can basically demonstrate that this user, if I do like forensic analysis, all I have to do is to get that information. Oh, there's eGolding who connected from 142.59.68.24 using port 41669, and he's connected at this particular time. So let's see what I can do. If I'm a service provider, what I can do, and I'm going to show you another page here. I'm just going to show you a screen here. Present. Stop screen. I'm going to show you something else. Just bear with me. Share screen. I'm going to show speed down. So I'm going to show you basically how we get the IP. What's the IP address, right? So basically what's going to do is that I'm going to show basically, just a second here, glitch in the matrix. I'm going to erin.net. And again, show the IP address here. I'm just going to show the IP address here. Video file, the share screen. Yeah, here. Sorry for that. There was a glitch here. Yeah, there we go. They're showing it right now. There we go. So in here, we're going to see that 142.59.68.24, it's basically TELUS mobility. So I can know that this customer is using TELUS mobility. You might find other information. The guys using Char, Roger's going to see all that information. It's all there. So basically, at this point, if I am a government agency and I want to know, hey, this guy is using a VPN to go to a website, we suspect that this user is doing nefarious actions against XYZ. This is the kind of data that as a government agency or law enforcement are going to look at. So that at this point, I can just go ahead and knock at TELUS stores and say, hey, we suspect this user is using your internet connection to do XYZ type of thing. Okay. Yeah, and nothing prevents anybody from doing this. I mean, obviously, if you work if you work at a VPN service provider, you will not be able to get this information, obviously. But again, if you have a rogue employee, if you have a rogue employee who is very mad at his job, he doesn't care about his job, he wants to land into a different company, he's very mad, very sad, very angry. This is the kind of stuff that he might be able to do if he has the proper access within that company, is to get that confidential information, multiply that times 1000, and you'll be able to see all of that. So it's very important for. So this is what I'm trying to raise awareness that it's not because you're on using a VPN that you're inherently safe. It's the equivalent of using another internet connection that is not your own, is somebody else's. Okay. Another thing I want to show you as well is, since we have access to a VPN server, we're going to demonstrate how it is easy to capture traffic on the VPN router. So I'm gonna pan over to my SSH window here. Give me a second here. Let's see if I can switch to a different slide here. Just bear with me. Okay, so this is still SSH. SSH moves like a terminal window, by the way. So what happens? So what I'm doing here, I won't go into the details, but I'm basically saying that, sorry, I want to capture all the traffic that's going on a VPN and scan port 53, which is the DNS. A DNS is essentially what allows you to go from google.com into an IP address that the machine can understand. It's more for us humans to do this, but this is something that we'll see. So I want to scan all DNS traffic, and I'm going to a website now. I don't know if you can see this or not, but I'm going to bell.ca or rogers.com. Oh, you see already a whole bunch of software DNS requests there. I'm going to bell.ca. Oh, canceled. And nothing there, you're going to see bell.ca in here. So I can see, I can pull that information that somebody is going to bell.ca. Now substitute bell.ca to any kind of website you don't want to go on a daily basis, like, I don't know, I want to say on YouTube because it's too nefarious or anything, but or any website that the government is deemed offensive or something like that. This is what's most going to happen in a situation like when Bill 69 gets approved or not. I don't think it's going to be approved, but this is something that can be extracted and from a regular TCP/IP session, right? So it's very important for you to understand that because you're using a VPN connection doesn't automatically give you the ability to protect from yourself or any other type of attack. So the questions, so now that we identified the attack vectors, what can you do to remediate from the situation? Well, basically, if you want to rely on a private company to ensure your security, that is probably not the best idea. I'm more the kind of guy who's going to tell you to run your own VPN servers by yourself, buy a bunch of equipment, a bunch of servers, and even my VPN server that I'm using right now, it's not even an actual server, it's a VPS somewhere. But anyways, you can basically buy capacity from a provider somewhere. You can actually run your own VPS. It's not terribly difficult to do it if you have the technical skills. My suggestion is to do a VPN, but instead of buying service from a VPN provider, I think it would be better off for you to deploy your own VPN server by yourself, and just have a bunch of friends or people you trust. Because one of the problems we have with VPN is that those companies are providing the service, but ultimately they're like somehow liable for what they're doing on the cables. Now they give a clause on their contract saying that if if you go into a website, we're going to punish you, basically. But running your own VPN server, at least have this sense of freedom when it comes to, getting the sense of freedom that comes with, hey, I know this guy. I know the guy who runs the VPN server. I can phone him and say, hey, my website doesn't work. Or if you're a private company, like if you're actually an MSP, if you want to get into the business, that's kind of like an absolute solution, or if that's on your business plan or not. But keep it simple and also do it yourself. I mean, I know that OpenVPN, it's themselves have a license, a appliance that you can buy from them, and they'll be able to use that as a VPN server. So build it yourself, be autonomous. Part of the reason why people are successful in internet because they're autonomous on the internet. We don't rely. There are some people who don't rely on government, big technology standards and services like Google, Microsoft, whatever. That's your plan, but do it yourself, and also you're going to learn a lot, and also do a little research on what is the company being involved, because you never know what they're going to do. Like, it only takes one rogue employee to sniff out a whole bunch of traffic and give that the information to CSIS or NSA, whatever. It's very effective. Anybody can do it, actually. Key VPN as your number of trust users you trust. That is in the case to run your own VPN server. I strongly recommend to do so. Instead of using VPN, which has a lot of metadata because of the protocols being used, my suggestion is to use something called Tor, which is, I'm going to explain in another video what it is, but it's essentially like a VPN times 3. So instead of using a VPN to send the traffic across, they're going to encapsulate the traffic, encrypt it. On top of that, they're going to encapsulate it and encrypt it. On top of that, they're going to encapsulate and encrypt it like 3 or 4 times. So basically, if you decrypt one packet, you will not be able to pass the second traffic, this second packet. So I think it's very easy to do and to deploy. It's more complex, but it's actually very easy to do, not less complex. But that's an alternative to using VPNs, and also it's free of charge. You don't have to pay company to do this. So if your problem is to use a credit card, if you have fears of using your credit card, there you go. Right, that's another alternative. Raise awareness. This is kind of what I'm doing with this video, is to. I mean, I'm not discouraging people from using a VPN. I think it's a great tool. Um, it's a great tool, but on the other hand, you're responsible to defend your internet. If you go into bad websites on a VPN and you're doing nefarious things, yes, RCMP can go after you. I've seen it. Not with RCMP, with not necessarily with this DRCMP, but it is possible for, let's say, state of Florida to knock at somebody else's doors and say, hey, we suspect a user going to this website, yada, yada, yada. We need to get the information from this guy because we think that is dangerous, whatever, whatever. It is possible. It is possible. And that's another thing, is that when people have, and I don't use VPN as my way. I still use my Shaw, my Telos line here, um, because I don't trust another company sniffing my packets unless I build the server myself and I use it, because that's what I do. Like if I go in a hotel room, whatever, I use my own VPN servers that I built by myself because I know those servers I trust because I built them. Okay. I think I'm more like a security freak at that aspect, but that's another story. But anyways, just raise your server, build a server, raise awareness that it's not because you're using a VPN they're going to be safe from anything. It's just placebo, and also you've been paying for this. It's kind of weird. And don't be an idiot. Don't be an idiot. Use the internet diligently. Use on VPNs. Oh, another thing I just forgot about VPNs. I just was on my slides, but I think I just removed or haven't talked about. Let's see. So went to a few slides back. Oh, I haven't. Oh, I have not. Anyways, so basically, another thing that came from VPNs is that um, because of because of VPNs are largely abused by nefarious actors. What websites like Freedom Candor ended up doing in other content providers like Cloudflare, Akamai, that sort of thing, what they ended up doing is that they block entire networks altogether. So what they do is that they block the BGP numbers associated to a provider, like Intelis AS852. Rogers says I'm talking Rogers, not Shaw. Rogers is 812. Bell Canada is 567. They just block the entire network. So anybody who is in Bell, for instance, cannot access a website because what one of the things that VPN providers do is that they sell capacity by themselves and they create revenue by peering exchanges and exchange, but at the same time, because they're being so badly abused that VPN websites and regular websites and security companies just block those services altogether. I have, like, for instance, Freedom Canada on itself has over probably 47 AS numbers blocked. So cumulatively speaking, I blocked somewhere around 135,000 IP addresses altogether around the globe because they were being such a pain in the butt to deal with. So I just blocked them all together. And not the only one. I'm a very small website. I only have I run a very small website. Now substitute that website to something larger like Bloomberg or Reddit or I don't know, CTV.ca, where they get attacked all the time. Obviously, they don't want to get attacked by some random dude in Bulgaria, so just want to block, and they pay services like Cloudflare or Akamai to kind of shield the website from attacks, and they're mostly from VPN servers. So eventually, and I've seen it in the past. One of my friends actually told me just about 2 days ago that he was using VPN and he wanted to go to Ticketmaster through the VPN. The app doesn't work. You have to remove yourself from the VPN, and that's when the website's gonna work. So this is another avenue solution. So it's not so by using a VPN, you're going to get blocked more often. And also another thing is that what happens if, let's say, you're connected to a VPN. This is the point that was raised by the lady from uh, Celtic Canuck on YouTube. She was basically saying that, hey, um, what happens if somebody from United States decided that, let's say that in France, like what happened in Brazil, that started to block X or Twitter. If you're a VPN user and you're using a VPN in Brazil, you're not be able to see the website at all, right? So it's important to have this thing built in and to know that something like that may actually happen because your server is physically tied over there, right? So I'm just going to see something here. Okay. Sorry, it was a little glitch here. Yeah, but it's essentially that. So don't underestimate the don't think that by doing this you're going to effectively, so it's not because you're going to, it's not because you're using some, it's not because you're using a VPN in another country, you're actually you're effectively bound by local regulations over there as well too, right? So that's what I have here. I'm just gonna check something from here, just a second. Okay, sorry for that glitch here. So basically, so that's kind of what I have to do. So this is what boils down to. VPNs are a great tool, but used with discernment, and with discernment comes with great responsibility. So I don't know if there are any questions from the chat. I'm gonna tag here just a sec. I don't know if somebody has a question here or not. I don't know. Let's see. Just a sec. We're just gonna look at something here. Okay, somebody sent me a question. This is very interesting. What happens when a VPN connection is going through? Okay, just a second. Okay, yeah. I see. This is a very technical question. I will answer him privately. I know that some providers like Shaw, Telus are pushing IPv6 that might interfere with tunneling in negotiation traffic. I will respond to him directly because it's too it's too it's too it's too it's something that cannot be crammed into a YouTube video, I guess. But it's something I will. So David, I'm gonna touch base to you directly. So I'm gonna call you and see what's going on with this thing. Normally, it involves just disabling IPv6 on the router or network card. Very easy to do. So yes, so what he's saying is, I'm gonna answer his question. So he was saying is that he was using VPN, and sometimes the websites is still thinking that you're using your Bell line because it's in Toronto. This is something that has to do with this configuration on this computer, not necessarily tied to this presentation. That's what I want to attach. Other questions here. Yeah, because some people send me text messages or directly here. Okay, another question. What happens if your VPN server gets compromised? Well, that's the bug. If your VPN server gets, like, if you're actually a customer, you should not pay attention to that too much. But if you actually lose your server or somebody compromises your server, like physically access the server and he steals it, yeah, it's a security breach because he's got all the private keys and all the public and private keys associated to decrypting the traffic before sending to the internet. So yeah, it's a huge risk. That's why it's better for you to build your service yourselves instead of relying into another third party to do it for you as well too. Any other questions I have? No, I think we have all the questions I have here. That's good. So before leaving, I just want to show you something that's going to happen because this is the Freedom Candor podcast, right? What you expect. I'm going to show you the next events here. So I'm just going to show my screen. So I'm going to share my screen a little second here. So I'm going to show you present share screen. I'm going to share you my monitor here. So what's going on with the Freedom Candor? So everybody can see it. That's good. So basically, I have some events here. Go give a shout to those guys here from Social Time, from Red Deer. I'm going to take a look at this. Oh, by the way, if you have a business, something to that effect, I can actually put your business cards here on this website here from freedomcandor.net, and also the newspaper, newsletter. So if you have a business, you want to promote the website, the Freedom Candor website, if you want your ad to be here, to be ad here, I mean, it's good to know that these guys are actually able to put their advertisement on the website. But if you run a business and you want to show and you want to put your banner here on the Freedom Candor website, just keep in mind that a lot of people including the website or Freedom are essentially people like don't necessarily trust the science and everything of that nature, don't believe in climate change. So this is a good thing that at least we have this particular thing here. So just check it out. Go to freedomcandor.net and go to advertisement. So new events here. Just gonna take a look at this. What you got here? Just a sec. So what we have is, this is a Spencer event. Obviously, if you're in Edmonton, just give her a shout at those guys here from Alberta for Liberty. So we're gonna put the website here. Create a banner. Just go if you're in Edmonton. fcall.ca/5158. So just gonna show in here. In October 15th is going to be something about the pigs, and how the mRNA is probably in our food supply. In Ponoka as well, there's going to be an event from Kerry Morgan as well in Ponoka. And also at the same time, we got the guys from Alberta Persuasive Project here, and they're going to do a live stream, pretty much what I'm doing here with my podcast here. So this is what we have for the next couple of days. If you're in Blackie, Alberta, there's going to be this event here for the board candidates. I'm gonna try to get some people in the those people who are going to be candidates are going to do an interview in the next while or so. I'm going to have an interview with them as well too. That would be cool. And also this conference here, this is a conference if you're in Barhead Country, that is essentially basically like an hour from north of Edmonton. Give them a shout, please. So this is going to have to be there. And obviously the conference from the guys from Red Deer. I should have time to for such a time as this. Give him a shout and give him an applause there as well too. So yeah, what else then? What I have here? Yeah, Slave Fall Festival. That's still, and all that information is on the Freedom Canada website. So by the way, just if you go to Freedom Canada website, is all in there. All the information is all in there. Everything it's in there. Like all this is directly from the website. This is directly from the website, freedomcanada.net. Directly check that out. So yeah, so you can go in there as well. If you're in Edmonton, if you're inside of Edmonton, you can go to the website fcal.ca/YAG, which is a whole bunch of events in Edmonton. If you're in Calgary, fcal.ca/YYC, not YYZ. That's I think that's Toronto. Anyways, so, and if you want to advertise on the website, just give her a shout, and I'll be able to contact you and see if we can do to put your ad in there. And also, if you want to sponsor the event, if you want to sponsor our next podcast, you can also contact me, and I'm gonna put your ad on the website as well as a result. So this is what I have for you guys. This is what I have for you. I'm just gonna put this thing backstage. So yeah, so this is what I have for you guys. If you had any questions, anything of that nature, any comments, that sort of thing, just give me a shout, and I'll read your comments as well as the result. And I'm gonna do another podcast next week. Because of the long weekend, I'm gonna relax and take some time by myself and trying to relax in this hectic day. Once I have another podcast, I'm gonna schedule that as well too. I'm basically working on some interviews. I'm be scheduling. I'm working very tirelessly to do this thing as well. So just follow me on Twitter, YouTube, especially Twitter, and Telegram for the next events and also for the next podcast as a result. So thanks for coming. Thanks for tuning in. I hope that my presentation was not too technical. I work in IT for a living, so for me, things like that, I'm not serious on misconception nature, but I'm trying also to explain to you from the ground up what actually happens so you can make a better decision for the timing. So thanks for coming up, and we'll see you next week. And go check it out. Go follow me on social media so I can grow the channel on X, fcalendar.net. And if you go to freedomcanada.net, on the podcast section, you'll see all the links in there. All right. Have yourself a nice weekend, and we'll see you there. Bye for now.